He's the author of Lend Me a Tenor, which is fairly close to the Richard Lester, George MacDonald Fraser version.
Cool.
I don't know if did you look up anything about George MacDonald Fraser, the guy who wrote it?
No, I did not. I was more focused on watching the films this week because I
Sure.
where I got the DVD. By the way, I'm resident of Collinwood. That's Patrick McCray.
Oh God, started. My God.
We've started.
Smooth like diarrhea of cat. Continue.
Yes. But I showed you where I got the DVD, and I got to tell you, Patrick, buddy, you have never steered me wrong on a DVD, and you have it now. It's awesome.
Give me time.
I really enjoyed both movies, and I'll say this: there have been many Musketeer adaptations on film, and the best thing about, I think, compliment I can give a film is when you watch a film that's your favorite. Like I've told you, I love the 1948 version.
Great movie.
But I think too, what's great about the 70s version is it doesn't try to be the 48 version, and it doesn't. And that's a great thing, because when you watch a movie that when you watch a product that there's been many adaptations of, you don't want the same rinse and repeat. You get a lot of different things in this movie that you don't necessarily get in the 1948 movie, or I should say you get a different variation of, which is great.
It's a tough movie. It's a hardcore movie. It is not there for the kids.
No, it's not. I'll say this: Charlton Heston does not get enough credit for Ratio.
That is, Richelieu's amazing. On your knees, little man.
Right? When that's something I was shocked at too. Like when the Christopher Lee's character, the guy with the eye patch, gets caught as a spy. Yeah, I can't ever pronounce his name, so I'll apologize now.
Okay, I'm your buddy. I'm your pal. Whatever you need, I'm there.
But in this version, Christopher Lee plays him, and he does a really good job, but he gets caught as a spy, and this is in the second part of the second movie, where he gets rescued by the Musketeers, and I love how they pull it off. Yeah. And I love how, you're right, Risha's like, get on your knees, little man, and it's such a great line.
Especially given how tall Christopher Lee is, and that Richelieu in real life was supposed to be very minute and he was my height. I mean, and I'm like 5'2". So no, I'm not that short, but I'm close to it.
Well, you're right. Christopher Lee's listing is 6'5". I checked before we came on here, so he's tall.
And there's only one actor in Hollywood who can intimidate Christopher Lee into getting to his knees, and that's Charlton Heston.
It's true too. And he really, I don't want to say he steals this movie, but he gives. Charlton Heston, I saw him in Ben-Hur. I've seen him in Major Dundee. I've seen him in Planet of the Apes. But I dare say this movie is really a great piece for him. It's marvelous. And Michael York as D'Artagnan. It's not. Oh gosh, I'm going to kick myself. It's not
Gene Kelly.
Yeah, it's not Gene Kelly's D'Artagnan. But that's fine. It doesn't have to be. It's different. And it's different in a way where there's a scene where, for those who haven't seen this, spoiler alert, the woman, Faye Dunaway's plan is...
De Winter.
Yeah, Milady De Winter is gonna, she kills Constance. She doesn't kill... Now, Constance does die in the 1948 movie, but there's a tad difference with that.
Oh, yeah. She gets strangled with her crucifix, or with a rosary.
The difference being, though, too, with that, in 1948, Athos is telling D'Artagnan that we got to go. You got to... And you don't get that in this movie, which I like, but what you get is a tearful reaction by Michael York, and he's ready to kill Christopher Lee's character. And it's really well done and well acted by Michael
That fight
York.
they have, my God.
Right.
With the sun shining through the stained glass, and they both have to stop at one point because they're out of breath, and they mutually agree to take a break.
Yeah. And it's just like, it's Christopher Lee's and Michael York's work with the sword in this movie, and everybody's work with the sword in this movie, is really great. That's the one thing I'll say about most of the Musketeer movies, is the sword play is always fun, and it's a great one.
So here's the difference, and they're both good.
Yep.
In 48, it was very theatrical. It was very stagey. It wasn't very lethal. Everyone was kind of fighting in the same style. And they also undercranked the camera a little bit to make them look like they were moving. They gave them speed. Either way, they were moving a little faster than they should have. In this, they didn't undercrank the camera, and the fight master on the movie made sure that they were fighting. Everything about this film is period exact, and that's thanks to writer George MacDonald Fraser, who also wrote the Flashman books and the movie Royal Flash, starring Malcolm McDowell, that was based on it. And so everything was exact. The way they fought, the way they held lanterns, all of that, and the fact that these weapons were heavy and they were in heavy clothes and they got tired and winded, and all of that was this absolute dedication to realism.
I think that's the biggest difference too, is the 1973 version feels more like real fighting.
It does.
Than the choreography you get in 48. The 48 choreography is good. There's nothing wrong with it. But
let me tell you. Well, yeah, you go on. I got something to say about the 48 choreography that's a big compliment.
Well, there's this moment where Gene Kelly's D'Artagnan, when he challenges the Musketeers, and Athos says he was going to fight him with his left hand, and he starts fighting the guy again with the guy with the one eye. There's this moment where the guy with the one eye strikes at D'Artagnan. D'Artagnan just does with one hand, boom, to the side, and they go, ooh.
Yeah.
But that doesn't happen in the 73 version, because there's more of a serious tone and more of a realism to it. Go ahead.
For a funny movie, the 1970s version is very serious, and for a serious movie, the 1970s version is very, very serious also. I mean, it goes both ways. Yeah, the thing in the 48 version, I got a funny Oliver Reed story to tell too, but the thing in the 48 version is there's an amazing sequence in that first fight with the Cardinal's men, with D'Artagnan. He's just running around all over the place, and it's a very complicated series of moves, and it's more amazing to realize that it's a long fight sequence all in one take. Gene Kelly goes around and around and it's like a Benny Hill show thing. He goes around and around, up and down, all over the place, doing unbelievably complicated fights, and it's all in one take. He had to memorize all of that. And as someone who has had to do a fight scene with a very fine fight choreographer, it's not easy. And to do that much of it is unbelievable. But yeah, the fights in Musketeers were very realistic. In some ways, they were too realistic. Oliver Reed, noted drunk, who's a lot of funny stories about him making this movie. At one point, Ollie is fighting Christopher Lee, and Lee realizes that Ollie's gotten a little too into it and is really fighting. He's really going for it. And Lee, who claims, and I'm not going to disagree with him, even dead, Lee, who says he's one of the greatest swordsmen in all of England, was able to kind of disarm him and say, now listen, Ollie, this is make-believe. This is make-believe. But if he hadn't, he would have been dead.
Yeah. It's really, I'll say this about Oliver Reed, because you can tell there's like a physicality to his character more so than there is the 1948 Athos's character. That Oliver Reed's Athos is he fights more with his hands than he does his sword a lot of times in this movie. He's more of a physical brawler than in the 1948 version.
All three Musketeers in the new version, all four Musketeers in the new version, have fighting styles that are illustrative of their characters' personalities.
And that's the thing too. They're all different, which is great. They're not this. It's their fighting style is a representation of who they are in every way, and I think that's translated not just in. It's more translated to me in the 73 than it is the 48 a bit. Like the 48 has that a bit, but not as much as the 73 because the 73 is more to me. 73 is more of a completer film than 48 is.
Well, it's twice as long.
Right, it is right. I'm not trying to be unfair to my favorite version, but you know what I mean. But
No.
and it's really well done too. That when you get their different fighting styles, I love how there's a moment when D'Artagnan's looking back. He's thinking, "Oh my God, are all my friends going to die here?" But then he realizes, "I got to go." It's you get the virtual sense of D'Artagnan throughout in both versions, in the 48 and 73. You get the nobleman sense of D'Artagnan throughout the film. And there's a great moment, and I was trying to allude this to when Lady de Winter was going to get me. Right. When they all four say death when in the 73 version. And when she's going across, D'Artagnan steps forward. Now, I don't think he's stepping forward to save her. I think he's more stepping forward to go. He's thinking about after he says it, by God, who are we to judge this woman? We should take her before the king. He doesn't say it with words, but he more says it with his body language a bit, to me. And it's really well done. It's not overly done by Michael York. It's just done enough to let you know D'Artagnan is the most noble of the noble.
Sure. And remember what Athos says. He says, "Take one more move and I'll strike you down where you are. I swear to God."
I love it too. Like, here's the thing. You believe it.
Me. Oliver Reed was such a madman, and it's too bad because you ever see Live and Let Die?
Yes.
Do you like it?
Yes.
Yeah, that was supposed to be Oliver Reed.
Really?
Oliver Reed was supposed to be the next James Bond, and finally, Cubby and Harry just said, we don't want to be Oliver Reed's keepers for the next 10 years, and that's what this would be. So, Ollie, we're sorry, but we got to let you go. But if Ollie had been able to just keep it in check a little bit, people would be saying, "Sean who?"
Yeah. And you could tell that too. You can tell Oliver Reed is really a complete actor. I mean, he, drunk or not, you know what I mean? He really commands the scene. When he's on screen, whether he's just talking or walking, he commands it. And I love when he jumps down and lands on his horse and just goes. And again, he does not get enough credit. He probably will never get enough credit for his Athos. It's a really great.
People ask me who my favorite actor is, and it's Oliver Reed. Absolutely, Oliver Reed. Every bit of the way.
I can see why. I mean, because he really is just a complete actor, and he not only hones his craft, he owns it. I mean, he just owns the scene he's in, no matter who he's in it with, and it's great to see that from an actor. I really like the one thing I'll say too is with the 1973 compared to the 1948 version is the Cardinals, because you obviously have gosh, I'm blanking on his name now, but got House on Haunted Hill. I'm gonna kick myself.
Vincent Price.
Yeah, Vincent Price. I'm sorry, but Vincent Price in the 48 version, he's very playful throughout the movie, even though he's a villain. And I think that what you see from both Cardinals is not necessarily the same tone and tenure, but with Vincent Price, he's evil, but he's very charming when he has to be. With the 73 version, you get somebody who's not afraid to punish or demean his own henchmen, which I love. But even Lady de Winter, he tells her, "Well, you do it of your own accord." And I love this because he's doing, and Athos says this too. He does not incriminate himself. And you sort of get that before Athos says that too.
Damn straight.
You know, it's great acting by both characters because neither incriminate themselves really. Neither do I think with the 48 version, when they do the jewel thing, the jewel necklace where they take the two studs, the difference is when they have the studs made in the 48 version, and Gene Kelly is like going through like on rooftops, and I love the stunt work he does. And he swings in, and he comes back, and he hands Angela Lansbury the jewels, the studs, and they show them, and he's like, Madame D'Artagnan, no doubt. It's a great line, and it's said sort of with a smart ass tone, and that's how I take it. And but when it's said in the 73 version, it's not necessarily a smart ass tone. It's more of a, okay, kid, I'm gonna get you tone.
Yeah.
And I love that because it's different. I think that's the thing. I love films that don't try to be the film they know they're going off of, and or know that it was already made. If you make a film that you know was already made, and you be as different as possible, even though some of the similar things are there, but they're different in your film, that will make your film better. And I think that's something 73 does amazingly well.
It does. I mean, the way to look at the 73 version is the 48 version was a wonderful, big, Technicolor, splashy MGM offering. The 73 version, I'm sure Richard Lester had seen the 48 version, but he and George MacDonald Fraser sat down to adapt Dumas' book, The Three Musketeers and the Four Musketeers, and that's what keeps it kind of sovereign. That's what makes it its own animal.
What did you think of like Lana Turner, Lady De Winter compared to sort of Faye Dunaway's?
I mean, they're both terrific. Here's the problem, and this might kind of undo the entire premise of the podcast, but that's my job. The issue is that it's very hard to judge because the scripts are so different.
Yeah.
The one moment that Lana Turner has is when she gets the knife in the book, and she you just see that turn that her character makes. And I think the great thing about Lana Turner is that you legitimately believe, maybe for a split second, that she's genuinely changed her ways.
Yeah.
But the 73 version gives you so much Lady De Winter evil that that she's just playing along the whole time. So, because you can't, it's like Charlton Heston and Vincent Price, who also would have been magnificent Lady De Winters, but that's not how they were cast. I hate to say this because I'm a huge Charlton Heston fan, but I have to give the edge to Vinny the P. And this is why. I can see Vincent Price doing both scripts and doing them very well. Chuck, I don't know how, had he been the right age and all of that, I don't know how he would have fared in the lighter version. I'm not sure he could have quite pulled it off. But Vincent Price, as they say, could have gone both ways.
He really could have. Vincent Price was just, I mean, if you've seen House on Haunted Hill, if you've seen any of his movies, you knew he could be this cold character. And even, I'll tell you a great sort of movie to see that has Charlton Heston in it. It's The Ten Commandments as well. Vincent Price and Charlton Heston both in that movie. And Vincent Price is brutal in that movie. But
Baka, the master builder, a master butcher, you mean?
yeah, yep. And he
That's
just
we should do that movie for Passover, for the Passover Easter section, because that I contend is the most fun movie ever made. The Ten Commandments. I love that movie.
my favorite line. You hold your tongue as well as I hold my temper. I love it. It's a great line as he's whipping him. But it just amazing movie, by the way. But yeah, we do got to do that one for sure. But I'll tell you the biggest difference for me between the Winters. With the 48 version, when you hear Athos talk about his true love, Gene Kelly's D'Artagnan picks up that it's Lana Turner's De Winter. Like there's that moment where Gene Kelly picks up like, oh my God. So, and he tells Athos that, she's alive. In the 73 version, I think the 73 version does it better. Not just because it's a longer movie, yeah, it is, but because De Winter is I'm not saying Lana Turner's character isn't a main character in 48, but Faye Dunaway's character feels like a way more more of a main character in the 73 version because they actually give her a complete backstory with Athos, where Athos is right. He's explaining that this woman he loved, he did not know she was a harlot, that she was labeled that until she fell off her horse and he saw the symbol like burned in her arm, the mark. And so he thought she died, and there was that. But when D'Artagnan, sleeps with her, realizes she's evil, and tries to get information out of her, he sees the mark, and then there's that whole situation there. I think it's better done because they're giving the whole backstory of Lady De Winter in the 73 version, and you get, like you said, you get that she's pure evil. She's essentially the female Michael Myers without the coveralls and the mask.
Oh yeah, there is no goodness in her at all.
No, but I'll say this: the deception, like the deception of Lana Turner, and the deception of Faye Dunaway's is very different, and that's what makes them both really good. Because Lana Turner's deception is, oh, I'm really a good person. I'm just misunderstood, which is great, which is what you want if you're going for a different version, which she is, compared to Faye Dunaway's. Faye Dunaway is more complete seducing you. Like she's more, I'll give a comparison. The way Poison Ivy seduces people, that she's there to seduce you with her body and her her words, where Lana Turner's more sympathy seducing you to feel sorry for me, I'm just misunderstood, and then she'll stick the knife into you. And Faye Dunaway is more of a mind, not necessarily mind controlling, but mind manipulating little witch. And it's great. Both versions are great and they hold up.
True that. I'm glad when you're talking about Poison Ivy, you didn't talk about the way that, Burgess Meredith's penguins seduced people.
Oh my gosh.
Pure heat from a penguin.
Oh my gosh. What did you think of the casting of the Musketeers in the 48 movie compared to, we'll say, the 73 movie?
Forgettable. They didn't really have that much to do. They were just in different colors of pastel. You only knew sort of who they were, I think, because they didn't have a lot of screen time. Actually talking. You had to be. It was kind of like the Attack of the Clones, in that you were being told about their characters, but you weren't really shown their characters. And Richard Lester was very careful to show you who they were, at the Academy and all the other stuff as the movie was being developed. and it continued throughout the film. I think he made I think George Sidney, I don't want to say he made a mistake, but he made a very Hollywood move where he just cast a bunch of good-looking Hollywood guys and said, okay, here's the name of your part, here's the color of pastel you're going to wear, go. Yeah. And the script will take care of the rest. Frank Finley is every bit this wonderful sort of overweight but still capable fighting fop. Richard Chamberlain is, his ladies' man. You see that again and again, at least in the movie. But you also see that, he's got this religious side to him without being told it again and again. So, props to George MacDonald Fraser, the writer, and to the casting of Dick Lester's Three Musketeers, because it just came together perfectly.
It did, and I think too, with when you look at both versions too, is the Three Musketeers in the '48 version, you do get briefly sort of who they are, but I think with the '73 version, you get a lot more than. I'll say this: what Marvel went on to do with the Avengers, how they had all their own movie, the Three Musketeers, the '73 Three Musketeers, Four Musketeers movie does it all in one film.
Yeah, but wouldn't you have loved to have seen an individual film for each one of them leading up to it? Wouldn't that have been awesome?
It would have been, because I think the thing of it is they could have carried their own movie, but I think that's what makes the '73 version that much more important when you're thinking about cinematic history, and you go forward to present day and you think about what Marvel Studios did with the Avengers.
Yeah.
Here's the '73 version of the Three Musketeers. They all had their own story arc within the movie of who they were and who they are. And you still get the nobility of D'Artagnan and the '48 version. And I love Gene Kelly's D'Artagnan. He is noble for sure. And
keep going. I got a thought.
He is noble for sure. With the other Three Musketeers, with Athos, you do get the sense of, okay, he was heartbroken. He tells D'Artagnan the story of his wife, who is Lady de Winter, and then you get the religious musketeer, you get the womanizer musketeer. It's why I've said that the Man in the Iron Mask is the sequel to this movie, because it all fits.
Well, they're all in it,
right?
They all show up. The thing that I really liked about the '48 version was Gene Kelly.
Yeah.
And that was something I wasn't expecting, because Gene Kelly is so good at light comedy, and you see him really relish the opportunity to do something a little different. I mean, there are lots of moments where he plays the light comedy, but it's the moments where Kelly is quite serious in the movie that really sell me.
Yeah, the moment where he says, please don't let me be too late for my friends. Please let Athos, Porthos, and Aramis be okay. It's really a moment of, okay, he cares about them, which is great.
He does. And Kelly's also a really good listener. Because there are lots of moments where D'Artagnan is being told things. He's being instructed. And Kelly is very focused on his co-stars, and he's very, very, very serious about what they're saying. And it's because of the strength of that D'Artagnan that you take the rest of the movie seriously.
Yeah,
he is, in his own way, a moment of black and white in a film of color.
Yeah, there's a moment in the 1948 movie where Athos is telling D'Artagnan, Gene Kelly's D'Artagnan, beware of people around the corner, hiding in the corner with guns, and he's listening to him. He's taking him seriously, but he's also got other things going on in that, he's listening, but it's like, okay, I have other things going on too. Like, I can't just worry about this. I got to worry about this and this. But Gene Kelly is listening. You're right. When someone's speaking to him, you can tell that as his character, he's literally listening to them, which is great. Is great throughout the movie because it lets you know, hey, this person is paying attention to what's going on around him, and that's what a hero does, really. And really, Michael York. Here's the thing, too. Michael York does the same thing because when they stop ahead of Christopher Lee's character before Constance gets killed, and then they see Christopher Lee riding past because they were ahead of him. Christopher Lee's character was underestimating how far they had gotten, and he goes, there he is. He's gonna kill her. He's gonna kill her. They're gonna kill her. And I love it because it shows you that Michael York was paying it, like, as D'Artagnan, was focused and paying attention to what was going on around him. Like, both did a great job playing that character. They both honed their craft and owned that character really well.
I agree.
You know, both are great movies. I love them both. I'm going to be honest with you. I can't pick one after watching both. They're both.
Well, here's the good news. They're so unbelievably different. You don't have to. It's, getting back to James Bond, it's like choosing between your favorite James Bond. They all are so well cast, and that they influence the films that were written for them. And the films that were written for them were all very different. So if you want a light comedy, you watch something with Roger Moore. If you want something that's really gritty, you watch Timothy Dalton.
Here's a question for you. If they did it, now they've done other adaptations of the Three Musketeers, obviously. I don't think any are as great as these ones here, in my view. But if they did another one, who would your Musketeers be? Who would your actors be?
God, I really don't know. Really, I think Daniel Craig as Constance. No, Daniel Craig as Athos is a natural. A lot of my maybe Stephen Merchant as Richelieu, I think, would be a lot of fun. A lot of my references on actors are usually about 20 or 30 years out of date at this point. So, I wish I could answer that a little clearer, but I'll tell you, Jewel, I don't know a lot of modern actors, and the ones I see are not hugely memorable to me. So I think the Musketeers were so well done in the Dick Lester version that it's almost like King Lear. There's this thing that's said about King Lear. Is it said about King Lear? No, it's said about Hamlet. When you get to be of an age where you really understand the part of Hamlet and can play it properly, you're too old to play it. But, speaking of which, yeah, throw Benedict Cumberbatch in there somewhere, maybe as Aramis. I think he'd be a marvelous Aramis. And, I mean, if you get him to do the fights, while you're at it, get Ricky Gervais in there as Porthos, and you got a cast. Yeah. But I think it takes English actors to play the French.
It does. It really does. I have the D'Artagnan for you.
Okay.
Adam Driver.
I was going to say Peter Dinklage. Adam Driver.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Yeah, Adam Driver. Sure. Yeah. I've never been that impressed with Adam Driver, but I've never been that unimpressed with him. He never really was given enough to do in those space movies, where I really feel like he got to show anything that he really wanted to do. Yeah. I think the thing that we also have to contend with, and I will do so happily, because if I don't, I'll be, chased out of town. But also because it's kind of the right thing to do, is that despite period exactitude and all of that, you'd be dealing with a very multi-ethnic cast. And I think that's simply how the film would be done. And you know what? Fine. We've seen all lily white versions of Three Musketeers before. That's fine. So really sticking with one kind of ethnic background of the cast is probably something you wouldn't see again, nor maybe should you see again. So in that case, we have Samuel L. Jackson as Richelieu, and let's face it, that's a hell of a Richelieu.
Yeah, I'm trying to think for Richelieu because Sam Jackson's a great choice.
He is.
Let's think of the other actor for Richelieu. He was I can't think of his name, but the actor the actor from Article 81, the main character.
From you mean Archive 81?
Yeah.
You mean the kid, the guy who does the archive?
Yeah.
He'd be great as any of them. I love that guy.
I think there's a lot of actors who I think could be in a Musketeer film. It would be really great. I forget the guy who played the Bond villain, the guy with the eye. I think he'd be a good Cardinal.
Oh, Mikkelsen.
Yes.
Isn't that Mads Mikkelsen?
Yeah.
Again, he's great as any of them. I'll tell you, actually, a way to go is take actors who are traditionally cast as villains and make them the Musketeers.
Yep. That would be interesting, too. That would be really interesting. And, don't be... Now, my lady De Winter... I don't know. That would be tough because after seeing both Lana Turner and Faye Dunaway, that would be so hard. The actors.
Well, ironically, an actor who was in a Musketeers movie would be great in the part, and that's Mila Jovovich as Milady De Winter. She'd be great. I don't know if she'd take the part, but it's not like she's got anything else to do. So, yeah, she's a very underrated actor who got stuck in those stupid zombie movies by her dopey husband, and Hollywood got denied. Go back and watch a movie called Dummy, which is just a sort of a romantic dramedy, and she's great in that. And keep in mind, I love seeing her floating in a test tube as much as anyone, but wow. I mean, she's a really, really, really fine and underrated actor.
I tell you another one too. She's a little younger. Would be Andy Matichak.
What about Florence Pugh, who was in Midsummer?
Why not?
She'd be a Constance. Yeah. Boy, would she be a good Constance.
Yeah. I'll tell you another who might be a good Constance. I've only seen her in one series. Would be Lisa Vicari.
Who is she?
She was in what's that Netflix show that I've seen her in? Dark something. I forget what it's called. But she's a German actress, and she was really good in the show. And I forget the name of the show because there's a bunch of Netflix shows. So,
she'd be good as Milady De Winter because, in the words of Larry David, it's hard to be affectionate to anything German. Continue.
Oh shit! Oh my god! No, but I think the great things about these movies that we love, the 48 and 73 version, is again, it's always, we've talked about how sometimes, now that one's not a remake of the other, that's what I would say. That the best compliment the 73 version plays is it plays it to the book, something you're sort of touching upon. It doesn't try to be the 48 film, but the 48,
tries to be the book.
Right. It tries to be the book. But the 48 version holds up in its own right because it is its own movie separate from the 73 version. And I think that's sorry, go ahead.
No, you.
I think that's what makes the film so great and so watchable. They're both entertaining as hell. They're both well acted. Gene Kelly just delivers as D'Artagnan. You, Angela Lansbury. I mean, my God, Lana Turner is stunning and not seductive the way Faye Dunaway is, but she's her own Lady De Winter, and I think that's what's
Well,
important about the
Anna
'70s.
Turner can seduce if she wants to. Trust me,
Oh
she does a
no,
pretty good job.
no, she does. She's more. I'll feel sorry for me, but I think Faye Dunaway is more the seducer of the two. With her Lady
Yeah.
Doctor, she does, and she's more of a cold-blooded murderer too. I mean, she's not afraid to pull something and just try to kill somebody right in front of, like, I'll kill you, and she's not afraid to even go toe to toe with a man. And you don't, it's funny. If I were to, I'd like to take an actress who's wanting to play a strong, who wants to say, I want to play a femme fatale. I would show them Faye Dunaway's character from the '73 version.
Textbook.
Yep, it really is,
Textbook.
and it's just perfectly done by her. And I think again, Oliver Reed, I love him to death because like he just owns Athos as a character. So
Well, I had a bunch to say. For one thing, we got to get back to Oliver Reed in a second. I got some good Oliver Reed stories, but the thing about the 43 version, 48 version, that's so good is that, let's face it, being an MGM production, being Technicolor, it's a pretty fruity movie. I mean, those guys are wearing costumes that, don't wear them in my neighborhood because you're gonna get mugged. But seriously, they come on, they gotta fight well, dressed like that. But but the thing that makes it work and that gives it its synergy is that George Sidney said that he directed it like a Western, in that he really paid attention to the fight scenes and to keeping it propelled by the fight scenes and by that sense of combative energy that really exists in the movie. So that really makes it work. So Oliver Reed, a couple of great Oliver Reed stories. Apparently, they shot the movie in Spain, which also gives it a big difference because it doesn't have that, Hollywood USA look to it, where everything in the Three Musketeers, as done by George Sidney, kind of looks alike. England, France, I don't know, who are these people? Where are we? Who cares? But everything in the Lester movie was shot on location. Um, so they're filming it in Spain, and Reed is just notorious drunk, notorious bad guy. At one point, he was carousing in a bar, and the police came to arrest him. And he picked up a table and threw it at them, allegedly, and said, "You can't arrest me. I'm one of the Three Musketeers." But also, yeah, but also Reed got tired of all the press conferences, and they were always doing them in the lobby of this hotel where they were staying. And in the hotel, in the lobby, there was a koi pond with those orange fish, and it had little goldfish in with them too, and so on. And so Reed, who was always pulling his pants down and doing all sorts of other seriously, stuff worthy of me, crazy stuff. And you weren't at the festival in 2016, but seriously, he's doing nutty stuff. He gets tired of answering questions, and so he dives into the koi pond in front of the press, comes up with a goldfish, and eats it in front of them. Horrified, they go running. And his co-stars said, "Ollie, what on earth did you why did you do this?" And Oliver Reed said, "Well, do you want one?" And he pulled out from his pocket a carrot. And during the press conference, he'd taken out a pocket knife and had carefully been shaving the carrot down to be the shape of a goldfish. And he hid it in his pocket. And when he dove into the water, something like that, he pulled the carrot out of his mouth, kind of wiggled it around, and that's what he ate. Classic Oliver Reed.
Oh my God.
You'll love him. He's a force of. I mean, this is a guy who could shame Keith Moon. They stayed in rooms together, and they wanted Reed to leave. Moon was the peaceful one.
It put Charlie Sheen to shame.
Oh, Charlie Sheen. That's Amateur Night in Dixie compared to what Oliver Reed did. If you want to see Oliver Reed really crazy, just go. You should put this as a link. Google Oliver Reed Letterman, and it's a Letterman interview where Letterman threatens to walk off the show. Yeah, Reed is a force of nature. See, that's the difference between Letterman. Well, for one thing, David Letterman's a famous and talented talk show host, but beyond that, I would have had Oliver Reed back every week. I would have just shot the show on location to see what Ollie was doing next. Letterman was horrified. I would have just been laughing.
I'll look for it, and if I see a link, I'll definitely leave it in the description box. That is too good.
You won't believe.
Oh my God! But is there anything you want to add about the films?
I've kind of restrained myself a little bit, but seriously, I have, because it's hard for me to talk about the Richard Lester movies, which are such complete films, and they are really. We talk about them as movies and then movie. Technically, it is one movie. Yeah. That the Salkinds, which tried the same nonsense with Superman the movie, cut in half, and so they were going to make twice the box office while paying the actors for only one movie. So that's why we go back and forth between calling it movies and movies. But I'm a fatuous git who should not be taken seriously, and because I speak in hyperbole a lot, but I think if you wanted to say that these were the best movies of the 1970s, you could make a very good case for it, and that's in the greatest decade Hollywood ever had. They are a complete story. They show you everything you would want to see in a movie. They have comedy, incredible. I mean, these fight sequences are so well done, and yet such absolute gems of comedic precision. They are a coming of age story that leaves all other coming of age stories in the dust. I mean, it is just to see D'Artagnan's version is complete. They are the quintessence of a noble story, of a good story, of a story about people at their very best, dealing with the very worst and triumphing nonetheless. It's a story about gaining friends and having to say goodbye to those friends. And the guy who raised me, after a certain point in my life, after I was 16, told a wonderful story about seeing the first movie in the theaters, and that it was such a dismal time. It was such a terrible time. We'd gone through Watergate and in Vietnam, and movies had become so humorless and so dour, and that people had lost such hope. And he said he was watching the movie, and when we think D'Artagnan is on his own, and suddenly, with that great sequence, the bear suit, they all show up at the end, and they're all there to help him, and they fight with him. I think this is when they're returning the diamond studs. He said this theater, this tough, disillusioned theater in nowhere Louisville, Kentucky, gave a standing ovation in the middle of the movie for that moment. And it has that kind of power. And I just love that. I just think that is, I was not there for that memory, but I can imagine it happening. And what a gift.
Now, this is on Blu-ray, but do you think that if they ever put it on 4K, that it should just be on one disc but in parts?
Yes, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think the Salkinds would let it happen, but absolutely. And I somewhere out there, there's got to be a fan cut of it like that.
Until that happens, guys, Patrick recommended the movie to me, and I'm definitely sure going to recommend it to you guys. Great film, both versions, the 48 and 73. You will not be disappointed in the Three Musketeers. Patrick, my brother, it is always a pleasure for one. All for one.
It was great.
And one for all, dude. Thank you so much, and see you next week for the Westworld podcast.
I can't wait.
You have a great night, dude.
Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.